Hello, my friends. If you remember a couple of videos ago, I put out a call to actual Amberlynn fans to email me and just to let me know why they're fans. And maybe one of these days I can set up interviews and things like that. But for now, I got a couple of emails. So that's what this video is going to be. I'm just going to share with you the emails that I got. We're going to remain anonymous, and then I'm going to respond to them. So let's just see what Ambabies, or at the very least, people who like Amberlynn enough to defend her, have to say. So this is the first one I got. And this one's pretty just, I think, being empathetic more than anything else. It says, "Hi, I just watched your latest video. I have recently found you, and I'm really enjoying your videos. I don't know if I would exactly call myself an Amberlynn fan, but I empathize with her situation. I have watched most of Mr. Snowflake's videos on her, so I'm aware of the lies and the bad behavior. He says she is a bad person, but I don't believe that's true. I think she is a product of her life experiences. Clearly, her childhood was not pleasant. If the state saw fit to remove her and her brothers from their parents' care, the situation was pretty bad. It is my understanding that her parents were drug abusers and that her father was abusive to her mother. That kind of situation can really mess a person up. To me, it seems like Amberlynn is very insecure. I think that is why she lies. I also think that is what created her narcissism. I think her poor relationship with food is because it was probably the one pleasant thing in her life growing up. I don't know, I just can really relate with how she seems to feel. Maybe I'm just projecting because I had a rough childhood. Maybe I'm just naive. I just wanted to give my 2 cents. We'll be happy to discuss this with you further." So I get it. I absolutely get it. And I think at first, anybody who discovers Amberlynn Reid, even if it's through reaction channels, I think your first gut reaction is to go, why are they being so mean to this person, right? And then once, especially if you hear her talk about her childhood and how horrible it was and all that, your initial reaction is to empathize and to say, she had it rough, so we can see why she does some of these things. And it's probably not wrong, right? You're probably right. She probably is this way because of the way she was brought up and the childhood that she had that was so bad. And I responded to this. So my response was, I can absolutely understand feeling sympathy for someone who is a victim of circumstances and a bad childhood. But I guess my question is, at what point should someone be held accountable for their own actions? She has been told for years that she needs therapy. She has even claimed to be in therapy dozens of times, only to either quit after 1 to 2 sessions or not go at all. So she clearly knows how to help herself, but she refuses. So after 11 plus years, shouldn't she have at least some responsibility for not doing the work? With the lying stuff, I said, I think I would be more forgiving if she would ever actually take accountability. And I brought up the lying about essay by Casey and how when she was called out on it, she just deleted the videos rather than actually admit any fault or admit that she was wrong. And so then they responded. And I think, honestly, we agree on more than we disagree on. I think we're just taking 2 different paths. She thinks, the person that I'm talking to thinks that Amberlynn is not great and makes bad choices and needs to get her act together. But I'm taking the path of, yeah, we've told her that. And so now it's time to just shit on her because it's so frustrating and infuriating, where she's taking the, we'll say, nicer route, right? This person is trying to be nicer than I am. And I think if I had started my channel 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that, I probably would be doing the same thing where I would be giving more advice than shitting all over her. But now, knowing what we know and all the things that she's done, I guess as many chances as she's gotten, and as much as people have tried to help her, and she just doesn't care, you get to a point where it's just like there's not much left other than just to make fun of her, because she's clearly not going to take any advice. Now, there's one part of this that I was a little not real excited to see, but here we go. This is their response to me when I basically just said, I get having empathy, but she maybe should be held accountable, especially for the lies and stuff. So, and really, most of the response was just, we're basically on the same page, but this is where they kind of lose me a little bit. It says, about the lying, by no means am I saying that anyone should trust what she says, but I can understand why she lies. Let's talk about Casey. In my efforts to fix myself, I experienced what therapists call false memories. These are memories that come up that seem totally real. You cannot distinguish them from reality. I'm guessing that is what happened to her. She had some weird memory one day, and instead of investigating it, she just babbled about it on YouTube. So I think the problem is this, on that particular statement. When actually asked about what happened, Casey said, I wasn't doing the essay. She was attacking me. If anybody was essaying anybody, it was her attacking me. That Amberlynn was actually physically abusive to Casey. And then once people said, hey, that's not right. In fact, Casey said, you're the one that was doing all that stuff. Instead of admitting it or going, oh man, I don't know why I said that or anything, she just deleted the videos and pretended like nothing happened. So it's not just the actions that she takes, it's also the reactions when she's called out on it. Amberlynn spends a lot of time projecting and saying that other people are doing horrible things when you find out what happens, it actually was her doing it. And so then they go on to say, I've had memories where part of it was true, but my stupid brain, and I mean, not stupid, you clearly are very intelligent. You have a much better typed vocabulary than I do. But my brain twisted them around, and it was not until I went through the trouble of investigating it further did I realize that my memory was wrong. I had to apologize to more than one person. But that's the thing, right? You took the time to look into it and everything and apologized. Amberlynn got called out on it and went, la, 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 I don't know what you're saying, blah, blah, blah. So that's the difference, right? It's not just the fact that she falsely accused Casey of SA. That's bad enough. But then when called out on it, her response to it was almost even worse. So I absolutely understand. And they actually do agree. I will say, and again, I think we agree on more than we disagree on. They said, I agree with you. I think she needs inpatient help, not just for the food situation. I think she needs serious mental help, but from real doctors. Absolutely. And again, I would love to tell her that, right? We would all love to tell her that, but she doesn't care. She doesn't listen. She doesn't do the work. She will never, And again, I would have given her a pass or given her sort of the benefit of the doubt a few years ago, but that's it. That ship has sailed at this point because she just clearly doesn't want the help. She thinks she can do everything on her own. So, my friend here, you and I could have a long conversation about Amberlynn, and I think we would come to the same conclusions on a lot of stuff. And honestly, it would be a conversation that if Amberlynn heard it and actually listened with an open mind, I mean, things might actually change for her. But we could argue this until the cows come home, and it's all about her response. It's all about how she handles advice and stuff. So I appreciate you reaching out. Then I got another one. Let's see what that one says. This one says, the subject is, I am an unironic fan of Amberlynn Reed. It says, heard you were looking for me. And again, I'm going to keep this anonymous. And I mean, yeah, I was. Okay, so they basically just say, I found Amber's channel as a teenager, and every once in a while will binge a heap of her videos all at once. I honestly just find them quite comforting. I'm painfully aware of most of the lore surrounding her. There is a lot she has done that I don't agree with. But I also understand that so much of her life has been documented for so long. Had that been me, I can almost guarantee I'd have just as much cringe out there on the web for all to see. And I'll respond in a second. I have a lot of empathy for Amber. I think YouTube stunted her growth as a person. I think she is stuck in a cycle of negativity, and I can't even imagine living like that. I think that people on both sides of this whole situation type deal, on the haydurs and the Ambabies, are deluded to some point. That's probably fair. I think that people like to think the worst of her because it's fun to have someone to hate. I also think that she does crappy things sometimes and doesn't like being called out on it, and so will lie in an attempt to save her own skin. Amber's channel is very human. Not always in the best of ways, I will admit, but still. I like it, and I like her. I would probably never be friends with her IRL, but from a distance, I can enjoy her personality. And they actually another one too. They added some more to it, but right now we're gonna go over this. So, finding it quite comforting. I guess I could kind of understand if you don't know anything about Amberlynn Reid and you just stumbled upon her channel. I could see it being sort of a nice chill channel where you just relax and listen and turn your brain off, and So I get that. And again, as an Amberlynn fan, it seems as, of course, I've only heard from two people, but it seems as though they are sort of more aware of her faults and flaws than we might have thought, right? I just kind of always assumed they just ignored all the stories, or just never watched a reaction channel, never heard any of the stories about her. And honestly, this might actually prove that maybe a little true, because here's the thing. So this is the sentence that I want to focus on for a minute, okay? So this person says, there's a lot she has done I don't agree with, okay? Which I'm thinking she's meaning all of the falsely accusing people of SA, and there's the lying all the time, and the basically manipulative and abusive behavior to all of her significant others, and just general bad behavior. But here's the thing. It goes on to say, had that been me, it's basically saying that her life has been documented for so long. They say, had that been me, I can almost guarantee I'd have as much cringe out there on the web for all to see. Cringe isn't the problem, but it's really hard to know even where to start when you want to. If you were to say, what is the problem with Amberlynn Reid? It's hard to know where to even begin, because forever she has treated her significant others like crap, and she has just acted so narcissistically. So the fact that this person thinks that the cringe of Amberlynn Reid is why we call her out, and it's what that makes it sound like is that we're just making fun of her because she's weird and different, and probably because of the way she looks, and that's not it. So there have been so many deep dives by Mr. Snowflake and many others about all of the just really, and this isn't just cringy things she's done or kind of bad, like she's done some horrible things. And the problem is you can still see that behavior on display in every video. She still acts the same way. Like, I've been reacting to old videos from like 9 years ago, and she acts the exact same way now as she did back then. And it's clear nothing's ever going to change, but it's really not cringe. It's bordering on malignant narcissism to the point where she doesn't take accountability for anything. Weight loss, the mental illness that she claims to have. And the problem with that is she claims to have so many mental illnesses. We all assume that she probably doesn't. She's probably lying. But even if she did, she doesn't do anything about it. So cringe really isn't the issue. And again, it's really hard to even know where to start when you're trying to say what is the problem with her. And so then they followed up with a voice message. So let's listen to that and just kind of see what we're dealing with here.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of Amber's actions, a lot of the things she says and her actions are misconstrued. And that might just be copium, whatever. But take how a whole bunch of people recently have been calling her a pedophile because of what happened with Libby. And I get it, like she was weird. She was very weird with Libby in her videos, and we can see that. But I think that calling her a pedophile or saying that she had ill intent is a little weird, I feel like that's taking it a bit too far. I think that what happened with Libby was Amber having like a chance to be cool, the cool girl for the first time in her life, like having someone look up to her. Like I feel like that was something that she had never had before and probably has rarely ever had, someone in real life who looks up to her and who she can be like, "Oh, I know I'm so cool. I know so many things." I feel like that's what it was, especially with the sexual talk around her, like that's not cool, but not cool at all. Don't get me wrong. Don't go out there. Like I would never. But I can see from her perspective why someone who has had her life and her upbringing and has been stunted in the way that she has been stunted would think that that would be appropriate. And it's not even that it's appropriate, it's in her mind that, oh, this isn't appropriate, so it's cool and edgy to talk about, right? Like I remember being a teenager and thinking that kind of stuff was edgy and cool and funny. Like I think I'm the age that she was, and I'm 22, and I would never. But I also have had a rather I'm also rather intelligent. I've had a good upbringing. I haven't like posted my whole life on YouTube and been emotionally and mentally stunted by it. So I can see, like I can see both points of view, but to call her a pedophile is kind of weird. Like that's just my perspective. Yeah, I can't be bothered typing. It's It's late. Okay, goodbye, Mr. Hecticana.
I understand not wanting to type everything out, but so here's the crazy thing, and this may surprise you, but I actually agree with a lot of what you just said. We're going to push the being creepy with minors thing to the side for a second. We call out her narcissism and her self-diagnoses and all that kind of stuff. We call that stuff out all the time. Almost everything she says, we can say, oh, that's her narcissism and that's this and that. The problem is all of that stuff takes so much context, right? Because I've watched her for so long and I've seen everything she's done for so long that I can pick that stuff out of what she's done. And I have seen it through the lens of people calling it out. And so I can recognize it easier because I've seen the context. I have the context. Whereas a person just coming in watching would think I'm just picking on her or making fun of her. So I think that's why it's very difficult to explain to non-haters, why we act the way we do towards Amber and why we're so hard on her, because it requires so much context and so much backstory and so many videos where we've witnessed her behavior that it's hard to then say, well, it's narcissism and this is why, because it would take so long. I've built up this understanding of her behavior and her mannerisms and the way she speaks for so long that I just can recognize the narcissism and all that stuff. So being misconstrued on that end of it, on the narcissism and all that stuff, I think the reason it seems that way is because of the fact that she requires so much context to recognize all that stuff. Now, on the PDF side of it, if you watch Mr. Snowflake's videos about her being a PDF, there's a lot of evidence of her being a creep. There's a lot of evidence of her being just weird around minors. And a long time ago, she said some pretty weird stuff like defending pedophilia, right? She actually she basically compared it to being LGBTQ. She said, a lot of people don't understand being gay either, so I don't want to dismiss PDFs just because I don't understand it. Now, that was a long time ago, and that's a crazy, weird, creepy thing to say. And Mr. Snowflake has done a lot more research on all that than I have, as far as finding all of her old messages and blogs and things like that where she has said creepy things. But I think there is some merit to what you're saying about her being stunted and wanting to be the cool kid. Now, in the Libby situation, I think that is absolutely 100% right. I think she just saw herself as finally kind of fitting in and being edgy and she may have had a little bit of a crush on Libby. And because she was stunted, she probably didn't see anything wrong with that at the time. And yeah, it's creepy and it's not great. And as far as we know, at this point, I don't think there's ever been any substantiated evidence or anything that would show that she has ever acted on any kind of proclivity towards minors or anything like that. So I could probably spend all day long explaining all of the different behaviors that she has displayed in the past and all of the and all the things that Beck has said and all this. I absolutely agree she's stunted, no doubt. Like, she is a 13-year-old in a 34-year-old's body. And I think it all comes down to accountability. If she would actually try to get help and try to do the work, then I would have a lot more empathy for her and a lot more sympathy and a lot more forgiveness. And I'd be far more willing to, come on and actually try to help rather than roast, But she has just proven that she has no interest in getting better or doing better. And not just on the weight loss. The food thing, I have said this time and time again, Amberlynn's weight is the least interesting thing about her, right? Her weight is part of the stunted mental state that she has, right? She is an instant gratification person where she needs what she wants what she wants when she wants it, period. And that comes from being stunted, right? She has a child's outlook on the world, really. She wants her way, and if she doesn't get it, she's a toddler about it. So I think you and I agree on that. I think we both can see and this goes to both of the people that have reached out to me so far, and I am just thrilled that anybody said anything. So I'm glad to hear from both of you. But I think all of us agree that Amberlynn has done a lot of things that aren't great, and that she is stunted and she acts in childish ways. And I think you guys are looking at it from the perspective of, well, there's a reason for that, and we shouldn't necessarily judge her because of the reasons for that. And I guess I was like that at first for a long time, and I've gotten past that now. I've gotten to the point where she's had so many chances to make up for that and to do things differently that accountability just isn't in her vocabulary at all. So I want to keep the conversation going. I'd like to, because I know there's a lot more we could talk about, and hopefully we can do an interview and actually have a back and forth, because this is it's difficult to take in a lot of information and then try to respond to it all. So yeah, I appreciate you guys reaching out, and I hope to hear from more. I'm really not sure what I'm hoping to do with these conversations other than just have a dialogue, because crazy enough, I think so far, now there could be some people that prove me wrong, but so far I think we have more in common with Ambabies than we don't, right? I think we're just taking two different paths, where they're taking empathy. Boring. I'm just kidding. No, they're trying to be more empathetic, and I am roasting her because I can't find my sympathy bone. Anyway, I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.